Hello, everybody, and welcome to what has actually turned out to be a special edition of First Ring Daily, because I'm in my studio, and Paul, we believe, is in his studio for the last time, at least that studio for the last time.
It's true. It's true. After the show is over, actually not right after, but sometime today, I'm going to dismantle the desk. I'm going to put this TV in its box. There's a bunch of stuff here you can't see, but it's shelving and computer stuff and screens and a camera and there's lights and there's a million little things, but it's all going to go in boxes. And then when we fly home from Barcelona in a couple weeks, we're going to throw it in a truck the next day and I'm going to drive it to Pennsylvania. So I'm going to be displaced.
I can't say I'm jealous in any capacity.
No. There's nothing appealing to anything I just said.
Yeah, when we moved into this house, after we got done moving, this was 8 years ago, my wife said, I think we're going to die in this house.
And you were like, because of carbon monoxide?
Yeah, at this point I'm wondering, like, does she own a gun? Like, what did I marry?
Yeah, really? No, what are you talking about, dead zone? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, we will one day, maybe not so distant future, there actually might be a door where this office is, leading into another side of a basement. We want to put a huge addition onto the back, and this would be like the natural kind of area to like connect the two.
Right.
But
what if you put that door in, and then it opens onto something you didn't know was there? It's like King Tut's tomb or something.
Well, then I will become very wealthy overnight, and I won't be doing a podcast with you anymore.
Fair enough.
Yep. All right. So fun things happened yesterday. Microsoft just emailed me kind of out of the blue, and I don't know if they emailed anybody else because I didn't see anybody else like tweeting about this right away. And they said, hey, by the way, Windows 10s is up on MSDN. Yep. And I was like, oh, great, I can finally get my hands on it. And so I was looking for letter S wallpapers, and I realized I should have used this for my podcast logo instead of that other S, because I kind of like this on fire S.
I assumed it meant stood for Sam's.
It sure. We'll call it Windows 10 Sam's. But Paul and I both got our hands on to an ISO version of Windows 10s, and thank you to that anonymous contributor to our pot of ISOs. And we've both been running it for about 24 hours now. And and how's it going for you, Paul? And by the way, this machine right in front of me is running Windows 10 Sam's.
Right. So the machine in front of me is not, and the reason is right now the only thing I have to connect to this screen is the Chromecast, and of course you can't do that from Windows 10s, so I didn't bring it downstairs. But you know, I thought this was going to go a little better than it's gone so far, and there are apps that I need to use that are available, and apps I need to use that are not, and so there's going to be like a transition for things like Microsoft Edge instead of Chrome, which is going to be hard because they do a lot of stuff in Chrome in very sophisticated ways that are not possible in Edge, and I'm going to miss that. But the biggest stumbling block for me so far, oddly, has been a store app that I actually use, which is Photoshop Express. And I installed it. It takes a while, and I ran it. And the first time you run it, there's kind of like a welcome experience that comes up. And then you can choose between the editor and the organizer. But there's also a little, like a gear up in the corner. And you can say, look, every time I run this app, just run in my case, the editor. That's what I want.
Yes.
So in other words, when I click on the shortcut, the editor just comes up. Well, that welcome screen that only would appear one time for me because I get rid of it, crashes. It won't, I can't get it to run. No. Now, if this was a desktop app, I could go into the folder, just find the editor, and click on the exe and just run that. It would work fine. But because it's not, I can't. So I did the thing. You can refresh or reset the app. There's a couple things you can do from advanced settings over in the settings app. Nothing. I tried booting it up into like a safe mode type of thing. I don't know if you've tried this in Windows 10s, but hilariously, it requires you to type in your BitLocker recovery code, which is, I think, 20-something, 30-something characters long. You got to go find it in OneDrive. It's a pain in the ass. So I said, screw that. And I tried rebooting the machine normally and all that stuff. So the last thing I tried was I just deleted it, and then I've reinstalled it, but it's up there, probably finished now. So I'm a little nervous this isn't going to work because I don't know what to do next. I mean, I don't think there's anything else I can do. So it may not work. The other thing is, and you probably noticed this, unless you have a workaround for this that I'm unaware of, the Microsoft Office apps that are in the store are not in the store for us for some reason.
Oh, I haven't.
Do you have a workaround for that?
No, not yet. You know, Paul,
No.
I got us the ISOs and a key. Give me, give me some time. Give me a little breathing room here.
Okay.
I don't know. To be honest, so for you, that is, well, I will need that if this was my full machine that I was using every single day. I would need those, but for me, I don't write in Word anymore, so that wouldn't really. It's not been a big problem, but I do need. Yeah. I do need them.
Actually, one thing I wanted to ask you about, I do write in a different application as well. I use Markdown Pad, which is a desktop app. It's not going to run on this.
Yep.
I tried that appy thing. I tried the free trial for the pro version because it does Markdown support. It doesn't support side-by-side, which is what I prefer, but you can kind of toggle between the text editor and the what you see is what you get view. It seems like it's okay.
Yep.
But
I think that's actually a UWP limitation why you can't do side-by-side.
Sure, of course it is.
Because, well, you'd essentially need, well, no, maybe not. I mean, I guess he could build it. You could ask him. He's actually a reader on Thurrott who makes this.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. That's how I found the app, is he posted in the forum like, hey, guys, I just launched a new app. You guys want to check it out? That's how I found the app.
Oh.
So he probably could build it in. I was thinking you would need 2 instances of appy text side by side, but I guess they could build it in.
No, I think the other thing is, I guess there's a Chrome, let me think, there's a Chrome web app called, I don't see it. I guess this is it. Stack Edit? Seems wrong. I don't know. Maybe this would run from the web and Edge, and I could use that because I think Stack Edit is a side-by-side Markdown. Anyway, this kind of stuff. This is the hard stuff. And so, I have a second article about this coming soon, and I think my big takeaway, the very first thing, and it is obvious in retrospect, but if you're going to use Windows 10s, aside from hating yourself, you're going to need to use a Microsoft account because you're only getting apps from the store. Like,
sure.
If you've decided to, like, you're actually going to do this, you got to go all in. Like, there's no reason to sign into apps one by one. Just, jump in with both feet. I mean, I think that's my first takeaway, I guess. Well, the second takeaway, because the first one is it's terrible and don't do this to yourself. But if you're into it, whatever, just you got to have to sign in with your Microsoft account.
Yeah, and so the interesting thing about Windows 10s, and this, we're probably not the ideal target market for this because I don't know about you, Paul, but I don't exactly download like browser plugins or Bonsai Buddy or all that kind of crap that typically ruins a Windows PC.
Yep.
So really what I need to do is hand this over to a neighbor's kid who's like 12 years old and be like, hey, try to ruin this thing without physically.
But I guess my central aim is I believe that this thing should be tested by a wider group of people. And I think the Windows Insider community is the obvious choice because there are millions of them and because they're enthusiastic and they would put up with the bullshit. Like a lot of these people still use Windows phones against all common sense. And so if they can put up with that, they could use Windows 10s. And I think their viewpoint on this would be very valuable because they would be the ones who tried the hardest to actually make it work. And when they explain why this, in fact, doesn't work, and it's always going to be the one thing, like whatever it is, Chrome is such an obvious example, but whatever, that might help institute the change that I think this thing needs, which is some form of a compromise that lets people make exceptions for desktop apps that they trust and be treated like an adult and be able to run that thing on this system, Because it's all there,
but then that's,
by the way.
Yeah, it's all
Win32.
That's
it's not gone, right? I mean, we all get that. Do you think there's some magic thing that makes the Win32 apps included with Windows run? Yeah, there is. It's called Win32. Like, they're just blocking it. Like, it's not like it's not there. In fact, it kind of begs the question: can they even ever get rid of Win32? I think the answer actually is no. I think too much of Windows is in fact Win30. I think Windows is Win32. I don't think this ever goes away. I think all you can do is block external apps. So
I will caveat that they could get rid of Windows 32, but it would be a very violent transition, I would suspect. It wouldn't be easy.
It would be Windows Mobile is what it would be. I mean, I think...
Yeah, no, that's true.
Or something like Windows Mobile, But I actually don't think it could... I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying. I don't understand. This seems so arbitrary to me. You know?
Yeah, and so I'm going to give Microsoft the benefit of the doubt on this one, right? Oftentimes we'll see Microsoft sometimes do something that doesn't really make a lot of sense, and then in 5 years it's like, okay, yeah, I see this was phase one of the transition. Windows as a service is kind of like that. Nobody really understood it. I don't think Microsoft understood it. Now we kind of see what it is, and it's like, okay, I get why they're doing that. You may not agree with it, but you understand why they're doing that. And I wonder if Windows 10s is step one in a 20-part roadmap that Microsoft has to truly transition away from legacy applications.
I think you're giving these guys way too much credit. I don't think they have. I don't think this plan exists.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish it did.
Yeah, and it very well might not. The reason why I say that is because, again, look at Windows as a service. We very much both feel that they're kind of making this up as they go along. But
I think that's obvious. They've changed the servicing model 3 times.
When you were talking about Windows 10s, I was really trying to figure out what the true benefit is. And the benefit Microsoft pitches is that you get a longevity in the performance of the machine that you have, so that in 5 years, this Surface Pro should run exactly as fast as it does today. The problem with that is I don't think that's a big enough pitch to consumers or anybody, frankly, to say, hey, your machine's going to run well for 5 years, because and I consider myself a power user, I've never picked up my laptop and said, man, this thing's running so slow today. Like that scenario doesn't exist because traditional Windows has done a very good job of making sure that crap gets cleaned out.
Well, there's a lot that goes into it, right? There's the updaters that all the apps install that I mentioned on a previous show, but there's also just sort of a general security thing. I mean, if you're blocking all Win32 processes that are not trusted by the operating system, it makes it much harder, if not impossible, to have malware entered into the system, even if you're browsing the web stupidly. So there's a bunch of stuff that goes into that. But I mean, I know people who complain about what you say you've never experienced, and I don't really experience it either, but I think part of the reason is I blow computers away all the time. I know people who are otherwise very smart, who are like accountants or whatever. They're just in different industries, and man, when they get in front of a computer, they just turn on the stupid bit, and it's like, are you browsing like porn all day long? Like, why do you have all this stuff on your computer? Like, what's going on? Like, their computer is like taken over by, malware and whatever. I mean, so obviously this is like a motorcycle helmet law. It's designed to protect people from themselves. And some people like that kind of law, and some people don't. But I mean, ultimately, no, it really is exactly like a motorcycle helmet law, because you know what? It isn't just about protecting you, it's about protecting everyone else, right? That somebody who is out of control in a vehicle, whether it's, someone without a seatbelt on or someone without a motorcycle helmet on, have the potential to hurt other people because of their actions. And if they're not being safe for themselves, they're potentially going to hurt other people worse. And that's why those laws exist. I think that's the point of this. You're not just protecting your own computer by not becoming a zombie computer. You're not hurting the rest of the planet as well. I think that's the point. But man, like, there's got to be something between hard stop and full blown. Like, there's got to be something in the middle. And I don't know. S2.
I think that middle is Centennial apps. I think that's as close as we're going to get.
Yes. I mean, I think an awesome thing that Microsoft could do would be to automate that process. In other words, allow you to download Chrome, which it does, and then you run it and says, hey, this is a desktop app. Give us a couple of minutes. We're going to put it in a container. Everything will run normally. You don't have to worry about it. And then just give you that thing, And I don't know if it probably runs just as fast. You're safe, but you have the thing you want. There's a compromise. I know there are technical issues with what I just said.
Yeah.
Probably legal issues. I don't know. There has to be some compromise between yes and no. There has to be. But there isn't. Not yet.
Gotcha. Well, we will both definitely have a lot more about Windows 10s. I mean, we're 24 hours in, and as things come up or don't come up, or maybe we'll both be pleasantly surprised. But at least now we can see the evolution of Windows 10s as it matures. And the funniest thing about Windows 10s, Paul, if you remember back to the launch event for where they announced Windows 10s, they also talked about Teams for education, because it was an education event. Remember that conversation?
Yes, briefly, yes.
Yes. Yeah. The only way to use Microsoft Teams on Windows 10s is through the browser, because they don't have a UWP app.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
So Microsoft, one of Microsoft's newest Office 365 applications is a desktop app.
Yep. Yep.
I love this company. I love everything that they do. I love everything that they stand for. They have given me a rich life of comedy and, financial gain as well. They're beautiful. That is amazing. That's God bless you, Microsoft. Where would we be without you?
So, anyways, moving on here.
Yes.
Cortana picks up Fitbit skills. I guess this is Microsoft's answer for not building a band ever again.
I knew you were going to throw Microsoft Band into this conversation.
Yep.
We can never let anything rest in peace. Yeah, I mean, after they dropped Microsoft Band, they started selling Fitbits in the store. Fitbit is a fairly open environment. Obviously, they want interoperability there. So this is great. This is what people are using. It's really smart. So
I will correct you on one small thing. The bands are resting in peace. So
actually, in a weird coincidence, when my wife went from her Microsoft Band to Fitbit Alta or whatever, her band was kind of sitting around, and my son, who was deaf, if one thing people probably never consider is, like, how do you wake someone up who's deaf? You can't use an alarm.
Yeah.
Right. So
this is true.
Right. So what he has is this thing that goes in his bed, and it vibrates the bed, and that's how you wake up. So it's like a vibrating alarm. The problem with this thing is sometimes he's a teenager, so he doesn't always hear it, and then it vibrates and it falls onto the floor, and then it won't wake him up because now it's going around on the floor like a little Roomba or something. So my wife suggested to him that he try the Microsoft Band because it has a pretty good vibration function, and he can set an alarm through, and have it go through the band. So actually, for the past, 6 months or so, he's been using Microsoft Band only to wake himself up. That's all. That's what he uses it for. And it snapped in half yesterday because that's what they do. They just break. He woke up and it fell off of his wrist, and he's like, "What the hell?" He's like, because that's what it does. So sorry. So now he's going to get a Fitbit.
Well, there you go. We're actually, my wife actually wants an Apple Watch, so it's sure. Because obviously a band is no longer an option. She's quite the runner and goes to exercise class every day, and so now we're kind of in this area. It's like, well, Microsoft's gonna have an event, or Apple will have an event in September, and it's like we don't want to buy one right now. I have no idea if they're updating them this year or not, but
right.
I
don't think anybody knows, but yeah, it's wise to wait anyway and to see what happens.
At least a month. Well, the thing is, her birthday is August, at the end of August, and so we were going to get it for her birthday, but then we're like 4 weeks max from an Apple event, and it's, well, you know how that goes. So
yep, I would wait.
Yep. How's that HP Spectre, which is basically HP's iteration of the Surface Pro?
Yeah, it's better than Surface Pro in almost every way imaginable, with two notable exceptions. One is the pen, which is actually great. It's just that with the new Surface Pen and the new Surface Pro, that combination, that offers, I'd say, tied with the Apple Pencil, the best imaginable pen experience, like smart pen experience. It's amazing. It's 4,096 levels of sensitivity. It's got tilt support and all that kind of stuff. So the HP Pen is only 1,024 and it doesn't have tilt. But honestly, in the scheme of things, I mean, for most people, that's probably not a big deal. But the other one is, and this is something you probably witnessed, the Surface Pro is like silent, like almost perfectly silent, like amazingly silent. And all previous Surface devices are known for their fan noise, like they're amazingly loud. And the new Surface Pro is not. Well, this thing has, actually it's not doing it right now, but it often has that kind of fan noise that I often associate with Surface as well. And those are the two downsides. But beyond that, this thing is significantly less expensive. It has a better type cover, which is included in the price, as is the Active Pen. So there's $260 in savings right there. But there's another couple of hundred to several hundred in savings over comparable Surface Pro, depending on what your configuration is too. So 12.3 inch screen, 3000 by 2000 resolution, 3x2, Core i5, Core i7, 816 gigs of RAM, up to a terabyte of storage. Beautiful design with this really elegant kind of kickstand thing. It does go down, all the way to 165 degrees, just like Surface does. If you're in the market for a 2-in-1, for me right now, actually I can feel the fan up there. I can't. Maybe I can't hear it because it's loud in here. This is the one to get, and I think the cheapest version is, I want to say 1,049 or 1,100, somewhere in there. But it comes with 8 gigs of RAM, not 4 like Surface. So this is it's a great value. This is a really nice machine.
How's the keyboard compared?
Perfect. In fact, actually, to be fair to Microsoft, the Surface Pro 4 type covers are excellent. They're actually really good. This one is better, and this is the first time on a. Well, it's not really fair. I would say it is much closer to a real laptop keyboard. I want to say they're not actually all aluminum, but they're aluminum topped keys, so they're not plastic. It's got a 1.5 millimeter key throw, which is considered perfect. But it has that kind of thing where they don't really bottom out, and it just feels natural. It's got it's just a kind of a perfect key feel. Oh, you know what I didn't? I just realized I forgot to add something to my review. But anyway, yes, the keyboard is fantastic.
Gotcha. No, that's good to know, because if the keyboard's not great, then, well.
No, it's excellent. It's really, really nice. Okay.
Good to know. Before we jump into the next segment, just a quick reminder, since we got quite a few people watching today, that the alpha sale, or the premium sale, which ends July 31st, is coming to a close. So if you've considered wanting to join premium but haven't, today would be a great day. I'm going to drop that link into the chat room. Basically, this is going to be the cheapest it's going to be all year, so now is a good time to sign up, because we do this podcast every single day, Monday through Thursdays, for premium only, but there you go. All right. On Friday, what we do is we do Follow-Up Friday, where we take a look at some of the comments and kind of dive into them, because there's a lot of smart readers on Thurrott, and sometimes they have better insights than we do, Paul. But, yeah.
Yeah, well, certainly better than you do, but yes, let's see what they say. Let's go to the tape.
Roll the film, Johnny. Anyways, on the new Windows 10 servicing model, Colin writes, he says, this madness has to stop. Why can't Microsoft do one release a year and give more time to actually accrue features and stability and support that release for 2 to 3 years?
That's an awesome idea.
Yep.
That's all I have to say.
And
that's perfect. Yeah. That's exactly right.
And J.R. Flynn actually gives some real insight into the corporate world, which is what we've been talking about for a while. He says, Microsoft has made administrator lives more difficult for a large enterprise. We replace hardware every 3 years, which that's really key. And in the past, an OS upgrade was never necessary, as a well-timed and well-planned hardware refresh would refresh the OS when it was rolled out. By cutting the life cycle from 10 years, essentially, to 1.5, my staff will need to evaluate and deploy new updates at least twice per year. So technically he could delay one release, but that's still one release a year. He says, a level of effort we are not staffed or funded for. While large enterprises can adjust the cadence and modify their processes, for smaller shops, that's not really possible.
So maybe you know the answer to this question, but is it possible for a small business to get onto the long-term servicing branch? Is that feasible?
Oh gosh, I don't think so. Well, I believe you have to be running enterprise.
Yeah.
There's no, so if you were running enterprise, I believe you could, but if you're running Windows 10 Pro, you definitely can't.
Because, if you think about my kind of comments about Windows 10s and how I think there should be some kind of a compromise, it seems to me that with servicing in Windows 10, there should be this option as well for virtually anybody. In fact, I honestly think they should allow individuals to be able to get onto that servicing model if that's what they want. In fact, I think the reason they don't is too many would. But if they're offering enterprises the ability to get onto this longer-term servicing model, where it's actually serviced like Windows has always been serviced, 10 years of support, a new version every 2 to 3 years. That's Windows, as we know it, as we have known it for many years. They should, at the very least, allow any size business to get onto this system, right? Now, you would probably have to pay something for it, but it seems like that should be possible. Reasonably possible.
I don't disagree, because as J.R. Flynn points out, that is that's exactly the issue, because there's companies that just can't afford to hire more people just to update Windows. And to your point, that makes a lot of sense. Microsoft will come out and say, well, they're not going to get the security features as quickly. They're not going to be running the most up-to-date and secure version. But yeah.
No, actually, let's talk compromise here for a second, because and maybe as I say this, you're just going to say, actually, that is how it works. But if you, long-term servicing branch or servicing channel or whatever we're calling it now, I don't really know that much about it, to be honest, other than what I just said. So let me just give you an imaginary scenario. I'm a small business owner. We have 5 or 10 PCs, whatever it is, and I want to get on this thing, and I realize it's going to be like a subscription service because it's enterprise, and you know, you have to pay for this kind of servicing, I guess, or whatever. You know, why can't Microsoft just come back and say, look, here's how it's going to work. You do have to deploy the security updates. You have to. Maybe you can wait until August to deploy the July ones, but you have to do the security updates.
Yep.
And that's the end of it.
I think that's exactly how it works. We're not going to blow you away
with new features. What, is that how it works?
I believe so. I don't have the long-term servicing channel on anything, but I believe it still gets the same servicing updates for security, but you're just not getting feature updates.
Okay, perfect. That's what people want, I think.
I don't disagree, and I think that's a very scary thing for Microsoft, right? Because they want to show they're nimble, and when the whole world says, nah, no, we really just need it to work.
But come on, first of all, let's start at some kind of reasonable level, like the anniversary update or whatever, all right? And let's look at all the new features that are in the Creators Update and all the new features that are in the Fall Creators Update. And once you chop out all the stuff that's like consumer baloney, like mixed reality and 3D and blah, blah, like what's left? Like what's so freaking important for my workers getting work done every day? Like why do we have to put these distractions in front of people? What's the big deal? That's all.
Yeah,
I'm just looking for a compromise. That's all.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I mean, I think that would be nice, but Microsoft they don't want that. That's that goes against everything that they've stood for.
Microsoft needs to want what its customers want. That's the relationship.
Yeah.
You know, I think I said this yesterday. If I didn't, you know, I get this feeling of disconnection at Microsoft where these guys are in kind of an ivory tower and they don't understand. Why doesn't everyone want these awesome new features? Why, you know, they should be happy that we're doing this for them. And it's like, guys, could you actually just listen for a minute? Because nobody's asking for this stuff. Like virtually nobody. And certainly in the business world, literally nobody.
Yeah, the business world is, I'm going to write a thing up. It's probably going to end up on Petri about how Windows 10 introduces too much overhead.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
If you're running Windows 7 today and you're pitching to your boss that says, hey, we're going to move to Windows 10, and they're going to say, what's our advantage? And you're going to be like, well, you know, we're going to get improved security, which is absolutely true. And he's like, great. He's like, so you're going to have to spend less time servicing Windows, right? So you can spend more time updating line of business apps and deploying new hardware. Then you're like, no, not actually. I'm going to have to spend more time updating Windows because they want me to do it twice a year.
You know, I almost tweeted this yesterday, but then I kind of realized the issue in my thinking, which was, is there a utility for Windows 7, like a StarDock type thing, that isn't glitchy and actually works, that would make Windows 7 look like Windows 10? In other words, the style of window, the kind of squared off, opaque.
Yeah.
Is there something like that, with like literally a Windows 10 theme, so that every so often
is there any utility for Windows 7 like StarTalk type that isn't glitching actually?
I hate Siri. I hate you. You're stupid. So
thank you, Siri.
She has never once piped up when I needed her. But anyway, in other words, you're running Windows. Like I like the way Windows 10 looks. Yeah. I like the kind of look and feel of it. It's more modern to me. But what if you could run Windows 7, no store, none of that baloney, no feature updates, beautiful, but it looked like Windows 10. But see, here's the flaw in this question, because it probably is, and it's probably a StarDock product, I'm sure, with the Windows 10 theme, you know, whatever. But the actual issue with this is it would be hard to find a good modern computer with USB 3 and USB-C and Thunderbolt 3 and whatever, touch screen and, you know, whatever, that ran Windows 7, right? You could run Windows 7 on effectively. Like, I think that would be a problem. Like, has anyone, like, you probably wouldn't want to run Windows 7 on a Surface device, right? And I'm sure that would never even work. But what if it was like a thing like this, right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this is a touch thing with pen, and why would you want Windows 7? I don't know. But, some kind of a modern something that could actually still run Windows 7. Like, that might actually be kind of interesting if it looked like Windows 10.
So I was trying to verify this while you were talking, and according to my quick searching here, the long-term servicing branch also does not include the store or Cortana.
This sounds like the perfect version of Windows. I want it. I want it now.
Yeah. Yep. This is interesting.
We're never going to be happy, ever.
Well, I don't think you're ever going to be happy. I mean, that's kind of my goal.
Listen, this is what generates content for me. I have to be disgruntled all the time, otherwise it doesn't work. If I'm too happy, like, I'm just boring.
When you go to retire, your last post is they finally fixed Windows, and then good night.
Yep.
That's it. And then the last comment here comes from Adam Corbally, and this is referring to the new features coming to Windows 10 on the Insider that allow you to basically bring them over to Android and eventually iOS. He says they should make a version of Edge for iOS and Android. Doesn't need to be anything fancy other than a functional and have shared file history passwords via the Microsoft account. The number one problem with that is, at least on iOS, is that it cannot be on the Edge browser. It would have to be based on WebKit.
Yeah, actually, I don't see that as a huge problem. But the actual problem with this is that nobody would use it. And Microsoft can't pin that kind of syncing functionality to something that nobody's going to use. So the thing that actually makes more sense is for Microsoft to allow Edge to sync to the mobile browser you actually use on mobile. Sync passwords, form data, favorites, or whatever they're called elsewhere. I mean, you can, the thing is, like, well, it's funny. We spend, I think technical people spend a lot of time spinning their wheels. And what I mean by that is we're trying to figure out a solution to a problem that might not exist. So I don't know how other people do web browsing, and certainly it's going to be different from person to person, but I have this sort of set of bookmarks that I do have, and I do sort of cart them around a little bit. They're in Chrome. I've sunk them. I've synced them to Edge, so they're kind of there. I synced them at some point to Safari on the Mac from Chrome, meaning that now I can get them on Safari on my iPhone. And there's some use to that, right? But the thing is, like, once those things are everywhere, I don't know that I actually need to sync them that much. You know what I mean? So, like, this kind of thing, like building an entire web browser from like 2 different mobile platforms, to me seems like way too much effort to do anything. And even the utility I just described might not be 100% necessary. If you just use Chrome on mobile, you can sign into Chrome on Windows and sync all that stuff to Edge and just use Edge. Yeah. And then what's the difference? I mean, to me, like, that's, unless you're actively curating your favorites list and moving things around and adding to it every day, don't you just kind of want to get stuck? Like, I just go to the same 5 websites every day. Like, I have all these bookmarks, but I don't think I use most of them that much. Like, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, everyone does things differently. I don't mean to undercut, the fact that this might be very important to somebody, but I don't know, maybe this is that thing, we need to change our behavior a little bit and just not worry about it.
To me, the biggest thing about jumping between devices isn't so much my bookmarks, it's my passwords, because I can't remember them. And so using something like LastPass has made that a lot easier, because you can just fire up, like, all I did was I opened up Edge, installed LastPass, and then everything came over. And so
I will say, as a user of Chrome, like, one of the wonderful things about using Chrome is that I have all this data in Chrome and passwords and but I don't know, whatever, bookmarks, whatever, it doesn't. But the point is, like, that stuff all appears on mobile, right? Just by signing into the browser, it's all just there. Yep. So I mean, I sort of get the Microsoft made it so I should use it mentality, but with a few rare exceptions, it's not like there's anything about Edge that makes it better than Chrome. So why don't you just use the thing that works everywhere and works best and move on with your life? Like, this is just kind of an esoteric, weird thing to worry about. I mean, obviously Windows 10 S, you're kind of screwed, but I don't know. Look, you could use different browsers on each platform; it would be fine. You could use Chrome on each platform; it would be fine. I think there are already solutions to this that kind of make it work.
Yep.
They're just not the solution you want, which is I want Microsoft everywhere.
Yeah. Which I'm still surprised to this day that Microsoft has not either made or purchased a password manager. It seems like something they would do. Yeah.
They talk a lot, and we're going to see in the next year a lot of work to do this phone interop stuff. And honestly, the ability to sync, even like to sync some other Windows settings perhaps to a mobile device might be of interest to people, right?
Yeah.
And they could certainly do this with an app, I think. It seems like Microsoft could enable this, I think.
So anyways, you got anything else for today, Paul?
No, I'm about to engage in a very stressful and busy time. So, like I said, today I'm going to take apart my studio and box it up. And then Monday, well, I'll be around Monday during the day, actually. But Monday night, we're flying to Barcelona. So, hasta la vista, baby.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, I mentioned to you, I think via Skype, that I've decided I'm going to take one of those weeks off from podcasting.
Yep.
I don't actually know which week that is, but I guess
helpful.
The more I think about it, right, it should probably be this coming week, right? Because I'm going to be so discombobulated, having just arrived and whatnot, and then I'll be doing it Monday anyway, so it'll kind of reduce the pain level there.
Okay.
So I think next week I probably will skip out on this podcast, except for Monday.
Okay. So you'll do Tuesday through Friday. I got to backfill.
I'm still going to do Windows Weekly.
Yep.
Assuming the connection works and everything, I guess we'll see. But and then What the Tech, I'm not actually sure. We'll see. I don't know. It's so busy.
Yep. So next week should actually be an interesting week. I'll try to get some guests lined up to do all this stuff. But Paul, as you're taking down the studio, make sure to bid Bunker Studio number 2, because this one was done first. This is Bunker Studio number 1.
Brad, let me do the ceremonial closing of the studio.
Yeah. And for those of you not aware, Paul and I both have those. I can go grab mine from the other side. Those are artifacts that we have acquired from Microsoft various events. And so, yeah.
That's all that needs to be said there.
Yes, the closing has occurred. We will put out the candle this evening. And good luck taking it down, and we will chat on Monday. For a reminder to everybody else, we do this podcast Monday through Friday. Monday through Thursday is for premium users only. You can check out that link that I dropped into the chat room for the best sale of the year. And otherwise, everybody have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and we'll catch you right back here next week on First Ring Daily.